So, as the last few weeks of the offseason are winding down, some rumors about the Mets' current financial plan going forward are being discussed. Andy Martino reported that the Mets are holding about 10 million to 15 million in reserve in case they're in the playoff race at the trade deadline. Martino stated that Stearns told SNY last month that the Mets believe they will contend for a playoff spot this year. They are bullish on their defense, optimistic about the upside of their offense and pitching staff, and realistic about how far behind the Braves and Phillies they remain. The Mets 2024 payroll with luxury tax currently stands around $360 million, with over $60 million spent this offseason and paying almost $50 million in retained salaries for Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, and James McCann.
I understand it, trying to be realistic about it. And like we said, not doing anything too crazy, not overspending, not giving out, just random 5-year deals because they need help. My one thing is that, again, I'm not going to change my stance on this. I still want to see a DH. That's just me. I think that, what, I would feel much better even if it was JD Martinez. Like, obviously we want Soler, but I would be totally happy if it was even JD Martinez. They just got him, and I feel like it's not a complete team. Is it a great team? Probably not, but at least it's a team that should be semi-competitive. I think that right now there's just so many question marks in the lineup because the pitching, I give Stearns credit. They've done a lot. Is it going to work out? We'll see. But at least they've added a lot of pieces. We talked about the bullpen. Obviously, they've done the same. They've added a lot of guys in rotation too. So I think that if you at least had one more competent, sustainable bat, a proven guy in the lineup, you'd feel a little better about all the other things that's going on with the team. So I don't think the team is quite there yet to where they could just be like, oh, because and that's the thing that really bothers me is that it really, again, makes you question. It's like, okay, well, what is their actual philosophy? It's like, are we going for it? Are we not going for it? Are we kind of going for it? Because that's the thing is that, like, this whole, like, wait and see approach. I mean, the way I look at it is that you've already committed so much money. And, Steve Cohen had said the whole 3 to 5 years thing when he first got here. How much he still is sticking by that, I don't really know because he hasn't said it since the opening press conference. That's the thing that I wonder. It's just that, okay, well, what is the top priority here? Because if we were a team that's like, okay, we're trying to get under the tax and this way we kind of reset and everything like that, I get a little more, but they still have so much payroll committed that I'm like, might as well just get like that, just one little more piece that I would feel a little more comfortable with than this whole wait and see approach. Because again, it's like if they're of the mindset that, okay, we have some prospects we like, but the farm system isn't too deep and we don't want to get rid of those guys. If you want to add during the season, you're going to have to give up prospects. So, I mean, the way I look at it is that I would rather just spend the money and keep the prospects, keep building, instead of, okay, now trade deadline's here. I need a DH. Again, that's the thing that would frustrate me the most is that they don't get the DH now, and then they have to trade for one at the deadline because it's not working out. Because, again, it's like I talk every week, but it's like for years we've been saying get a DH, and they don't do it. That's the thing that would just drive me crazy is that, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like you have the opportunity right now to address a glaring weakness that's clearly there compared to, let's do it at the deadline. That's my only critique. Other than that, I understand the approach, but that's just my one thing is I still think like there's such one thing that's still so glaring that I would love for that to be addressed. And again, JD Martinez, I'm okay, but just give me somebody. Like, even if it's Adam Duvall at this point, like, just give me somebody that is not, again, I don't trust Brett Beatty. Mark Vientos, we'll see. I don't trust TJ Stewart. I already have Harrison Bader in my lineup every day. Like, just give me one more bat, please.
Bullish about defense in 2024. Okay. Let's say they are going to be competitive, and let's say they're at like 3 games over 500 at the trade deadline, and they're trying to compete for a playoff out of those last wildcard spots. What are they going to want to add at the deadline? A damn DH. What does Jorge Soler right now probably want right now? $15 million. And like Frank said, and what we've all seen, the Mets giving up prospects? You kidding me? Have you not watched what this team has done the last 4 years? You would have thought every single one of our prospects are J-Rods, Adleys, and Bobby Witt Jr.'s, you would think. But this team, who has been so hesitant to trade for trade prospects, is going to do it then at a. They didn't do it when they were a first place team. Don't care about how it happened, but at the time, we're a first place team and was one of the best teams in baseball. It was didn't want to go all in there. That I'm going to trust them with this team who's going to be mediocre at best, maybe 85 wins, maybe. That, we're going to go trade at the debt. When you can, one, play both sides of this. You sign, again, like I said, I think in front of the Diekman thing, you sign Soler or JD, whoever, they have a good year and you're still marginally, you could flip him for more assets for next year and you don't have to trade the prospects. You use what you're best, but you have over every other team. You have more cash than everybody. So turn that cash like you did last year. You have the assets now. If you're competitive, $15 million at the deadline. What is that really going to get you? Probably a reliever and then maybe a bat at DH. The answers are on the free agent market. Why do I have to play a season out and then give up? Again, do we love every single prospect? No. But why am I going to give up prospects when I can use my cash, improve my team, and then things go wrong, I could take that investment that I give, trade it out of here, and then recoup more prospects for a bigger trade when I'm supposed to be competitive. That's what I can't understand with this. We have to save $15 million to play on a team that is a mediocre team at best. Everything goes right. Alvarez hits 40 homers. Brett Beatty decides to not suck dick. Ventos hits 40 homers. Like, that's the ceiling, and that's to get to maybe 88 wins. So I'm going to believe that this team, and again, what past history of this team giving up prospects for a mediocre team when, again, a couple years ago at the time, one of the best teams, they didn't go all in. You have the solution already on the market. Use what you have over everybody. Just spend the cash and worry about that stuff later. And like you said, all the money's coming off after this year. All that dead, fat, abusive James McCann, Verlander, all that shit's gone after this year. So it's not my money. Again, it's just Cohen's. Again, I might have to work a weekend or two, but I would rather go out and spend the money now to improve than have to burn assets we started to fill back up just to give it up for a mediocre season.
I understand, if there's a few pieces of, this team possibly being competitive to the deadline, we already know that one piece would be a designated hitter, like an actual legitimate designated hitter. We know that. But for what I think they're doing this for, and I feel like they are doing this because of the retained salaries of $50 million. If that $50 million was not in the books for guys to not play for the team, they probably would be in much different shape to actually go forward and obviously spend this offseason, not have that money set away for the trade deadline. The main reason I say that is because if you take $50 million off of the current payroll without the luxury tax, you're looking at like $270 or whatever, like that around there. So that is still over that fourth luxury tax threshold. Not to mention, you also have the luxury tax added onto that. Now, next year, you have about a pre-arbitration settlements. You have about $160 million coming off the books. You are going to be way below all of those thresholds. Then you can continue to maximize if you want to address the 2025 free agent market, which is a lot more loaded than this one. If you want to do that, that's fine. I think that if they didn't have these retained salaries, just fixing up so much dead cap, not to mention with them being over the tax, it would be a big percentage of that as well, costing them as well. So let's say if it is 12%, that $50 million, and then what they're really paying is like $72 million or something like that. If that wasn't there, I feel like you would not hear the Mets trying to save this away or put this away. And the thing is that the Mets at this current moment, they have put themselves in this position where they can buy and they could sell at the deadline, depending on which road they take, obviously, during this season and where they are at the trade deadline. The Mets have a bunch of one-year deals they can auction off if they're not winning. They have a bunch of prospects that they can trade away at the deadline for pieces if they are competitive. Now, obviously, the Mets have been hesitant to trade away those prospects. The main reason, I think, is that because they want to see them play first. They want to feature them first. They want to showcase them first to other teams. If they want to be competitive at the deadline, they need to see what they have first and then they can address what they want. Because, not to mention, the retained salaries on the books right now. And also, I feel like if they were contributing this $50 million to the actual books of active contracts right now, you'd be in a lot different scenario. Maybe they probably would have Soler right now. Maybe they have Teoscar Hernandez. Maybe they have somebody they can add to their outfield and also can be a DH. But right now they don't. What they have is internal options that they have not seen what they have done consistently at the major league level, and they want to see that.
What bothers me is that, again, like different management, so to say, but they had their opportunity to see what Mark Vientos is. Because
they
think
definitely
that's really
did.
The guy,
yeah.
Yeah, like that's really the guy that we're talking about here. Because the third base market, I was not a fan of Justin Turner. I didn't think it was worth it. I thought that was a short-term solution.
I don't think he's a third baseman right now.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not getting Matt Chapman. So Brett Beatty is like a whole separate issue. I think right now the conversation is about Mark Vientos. And it's like, okay, you're going to see what you have in Mark Vientos compared to signing like those names you mentioned, Teoscar, Soler, JD, whoever. It's because of Mark. You had the golden opportunity when Pete Alonso went down to play Vientos every single day. And still, the playing time was better, but it was not 100% what it could have been. And I think that if they actually did that this past season when they were so out of it, and you gave Daniel Vogelbach all those freaking plate appearances, like you had your chance right there. This way you're not, if you want to call it like, not necessarily punting on this offseason, but not going all out this offseason because of Vientos when you could avoid them actually playing him this past year. That's what drives me nuts, is that like you had an opportunity to avoid this, but now you have to wait another year because of the mistakes you made last year when you were so out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and it's like we said, when they were out of it, that's when you go all into the young kids every single day, and they didn't do it. And it just makes no sense why they approached it like that.
And it does not make sense. And listen, he should have been getting tons of playing time, but the only bright side to this with the whole situation with Mark Vientos is that the man responsible for not giving him that playing time is gone. Now, and now you have a new executive who has made it his mission, pretty much in his mission statement, saying, we are going to give a leash to the young players. He has already established that. That's what he has said. So that is the good thing about it. Does it suck because the time frame is a little bit off compared to what they should have done? Yeah, but it's a sunk situation now. I mean, you can't really undo what Billy Epler did. It was influenced by Buck Showalter or whatever. At this point, you have an upswing for Mark Vientos. He's going to get his chance. Obviously, it's frustrating knowing that a DH can make this lineup better. Again, like I've said, don't hire Billy Epler if you wanted to be in this situation. And I've said this many, many times. If you don't want to see Mark Vientos getting the playing time that he should have got last year, but instead was just benched after he got 2 hits a game, you'd probably be in a different situation. Not to mention the money that you have on the books that you're paying guys to literally fuck off, to not even be here. The financial standpoint, you get a little frustrating considering Steve Cohen just wipes his ass with $20 bills. Right now, the situation that they're in, you're at about $360 million payroll with luxury tax. Without it, it's about, I don't know, 320 or something like that, way over the luxury tax. You already have your draft stock all the way down. If they had a $320 million payroll, if they had a $360 million payroll with the luxury tax, and they didn't have those retained salaries, this probably would be a lot different of a situation.
Let's say hypothetically, Soler and JD Martinez don't go to World Series contender, which I don't think they will. I think they're going to be on mediocre teams on that. Who are those guys going to be at the trade deadline that, you know what, on a 1-year deal, who we're going to have the same conversations about? That's what's going to drive me insane. Yes, you want to play the Admiral bullshit nerd? Yeah, we get it. We don't have a salary cap. We're not the NFL. We can say fuck the salary cap, but you know what? Fine. That's my one F-bomb. But yeah. Even if we're playing this of, we want to be competitive, whatever, we'll see at the deadline, the Blue Jays here's a world where the Blue Jays completely blow it up. So guess who will be back on the trade market? Justin Turner. And they're still linked to Soler, so maybe they sign Soler as well. And then we're talking about the same guys, but instead of giving up cash, now we're talking about maybe a Dom Hamill, maybe Christian Scott, which I doubt. But now we're starting to talk. Again, it's this consistency of, we want to play the kids, then And yes, they told you we wanted to play the kids. I understand all that. And we trust our defense and pitching, which again to be determined. But and Alonso again is kind of needs to be in this conversation because it's not guaranteed. And again, I've said it. This isn't the greatest look to Pete. Yes, we all make the joke Pete is dumber than a box of rocks. But if I'm Pete Alonso, I've seen how this team has treated me on the field. I'm not talking off the field, whatever. I have needed protection. And for every single year of my career, you have not protected me once. And you're telling me I can hit the open market after this season. And let's say the money is equal. Why are you not showing him at that last year of team control? You know what? We want to apologize to you. We have not done right by you. Here's that guy and you can have that big Aaron Judge type go into free agent year because you would have Soler, JD, lesser extent Justin Turner, but you would have finally had some protection. Say, hey, maybe his numbers get, blow up even better than what we've seen. He could get paid even more, which he's kind of even thinking like, hey, can you protect me? I would like to put up bigger numbers. I'm trying to get paid after this season. I'm tired of having a gerbil behind me. Even though he's my best friend, he sucks at baseball. I'd like to get paid more in this offseason. Can you protect me one time? But no. So that's my thing. Is like you've opened the vault. You've already opened, yes, Billy Epler's dumbass. We understand all that. You got Pete here one more year. This trusting in kids, you do that shit. If Pete walks this year, then I think if this is next year, and let's say Pete went to Chicago, wherever the hell he goes, I think I would have been a lot more, all right, play the kids, whatever. If this is, again, Pete dumber in a box, we're going to make the jokes. If he's looking at this, and maybe, I'm not saying this will cost you Pete Alonso, because you can easily throw a $300 million offer if you wanted to, and offer the most money. But if Pete's actually watching this, like, this is how the team has treated me throughout the years, and then my last year, they're kind of punting, rebuilding, and again, we haven't said that word, but like a rebuilding state, do I really want to sign long-term here? It is, again, something that needs to be in the back, and it could be a small part in the back of our minds, but something that needs to kind of be like, all right, this rebuild thing, or letting the kids play, it's not like we got our face of our franchise a free agent this year, and I don't know how he would like, again, not being in the playoff conversation, guaranteed, and just, again, it's just something to keep in mind there.
I mean, I do get it. It's just what I'm saying is that $50 million in retained salaries is what's blocking you from continuing to do that, because not to mention the $50 million, that's pretty much putting you over the tax completely, not to mention there's a tax along with it that is continuing to block you even more. So if there's only the best way to do it is in 2025 free agency, which is where like all these contracts kind of line up that they have into free agency, coming off the books, like all of these certain situations, that's going to be their best option. If they want to extend Pete in the offseason, they want to retain him, that is going to be their best opportunity to protect him. Because like I said, $160 million coming off the books, pre-arbitration numbers, but that type of stuff, that's giving you way down below the luxury tax, below the first threshold or whatever. And then you can address that in free agency. And I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that it's not a rebuild year. They're trying to say it's not a punt season because they do have, major league talent on here and they have a core of players. But I think that what they're trying to put around Pete Alonso and Lindor and Nimmo and, what they're trying to put around them is a mixture of young players, a mixture of rental pieces that are on a 1-year deal. What they're trying to do is they're trying to establish that they want to be competitive, but they can't go all in because of what happened last year. They're just trying to fix a problem without throwing money at, but also addressing pieces on the roster to try and make them competitive. I think that this $10 to $15 million in reserve, that's what a typical DH is making. If they are competitive at the trade deadline, probably going to trade for a DH. I can definitely say that I'm confident that they will trade for a DH with the prospect capital that they do have. Like we've said, some of these prospects we have, they're not going to be on the team. Some of them won't be on the team. Some of them won't have a future here. I'm okay with them going internal because they should have done it like 2 years ago, seeing what you had in Mark Vientos, seeing what you had in these pieces from the minor league system. I pretty much accepted that to the trade deadline, that's going to tell what they are going to do. And they have the option to do that from both sides. They have the 1-year deals they can auction off at the trade deadline if things go awry. And if things are going well, they have the prospect capital to trade for a typical DH. Now, if they don't trade for a DH, if they are in the system and Mark Vientos is struggling or something like that, then there's going to be a problem. But only time is going to tell, because the trade deadline is August 1st and we are in February right now.
I got something for you. So if we're under the impression that there's this hard stop, like, Martino threw the number, but the main thing is they don't want to get over that fourth and final.
They already are.
Threshold.
They already are. They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So but still, they wanted to say, okay, we're trying to be very smart with the way we're giving out the money this year. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that the contract they gave Harrison Bader this year was an overpay?
1-year deal. I can't get mad at a 1-year deal.
Well, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the AAV that they gave him. If you have a small window to work with, do you think that was an overpay?
Probably. Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not giving $10 million to a guy like Harrison Bader. Yeah, on a regular.
Again, because what I'm saying is that, to me, the lineup again needs help, and I think Bader actually makes the lineup worse I think he makes it worse to some extent. That's my opinion. So I think the way I see it is, I would rather give $15 million to JD Martinez, and then instead of giving $10 million to Harrison Bader, and just leave Brandon Nimmo in center field. That's me.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That is a fair point. Yeah.
Jorge Soler, like you give 15 to Jorge Soler, even if you stick him in left field, I would have rather done that than give $10 million to Harrison Bader and say, okay, I get no bat, because I think he makes the line worse. I mean, that's the way I see it.
There's a strong possibility that he does. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just think that if you have okay, it's either one or the other. I just that's the thing that still drives me nuts. I don't understand why they said, okay, this is more important to us. Like, it's more important. Like, again, what is kind of stumping me here is that, does David Stearns? That's the question I have. Does David Stearns believe in Mark Vientos so much that he said, okay? But that's what I'm saying, though, because you're telling me that Mark Vientos is the reason why they're not signing Jorge Soler.
I don't think it is.
Harrison Bader, but they're saying that Harrison Bader is a bigger priority than Jorge Soler. That's what they're telling you.
Well, I mean, he already established that players like Harrison Bader were guys that he was going to go after. Again, I'm going off of what Stearns wants to do with this team. Like, I'm going off of what Stearns has said, because once again, like I've said, my biggest pet peeves with executives, I don't like to be lied to.
Oh, no doubt. But what I'm saying is that I just don't think that the gap with Brandon Nimmo in center field and Soler in left field is as big as the gap of Soler in the lineup versus Harrison Bader.
And again, when I saw Harrison Bader, I'm like, really? Like, this is it? But what I've seen from Stearns is, again, I'm okay with it because I wasn't lied to. I know that he was going to do that, get a guy that can prevent runs. Do I full on agree with it? Do I think that that's the recipe for a success for this team being a contender? No.
But we already had the conversation of, if Bader gets hurt again, Drew Gilbert's taking over. So it's why in the heck am I signing Harrison Bader when I have Drew Gilbert waiting?
I think he just wants the gateway for the younger players. That's what I think that he does.
But that much. But that's what I'm saying, though. If you have that money, if you have that number, why are you paying that much to Harrison Bader? If it was $3 million, $4 million, I wouldn't hate it as much. But the fact that you're saying, okay, we have a certain number to work with, and we're giving $9 million to Bader, that's where I'm just it just doesn't make sense for a multitude of reasons to me.
No, sure. I mean,
I just disagree with it. I get it,
yeah,
but I disagree with
it. Yeah, no, I get it, because I think that, the Mets, they definitely did not take to address the area of center field when you already gave $162 million to a guy like Brandon Nimmo to do that.
In his second year of the deal.
In the second year of the deal.
It's not like if this was year 6 of Nimmo, year 7 of Nimmo, I get it. But this is the second year where you paid him to be a center fielder, and you're ready to say, okay, we're moving it. And again, different management, different executives, I get that. But this is what you're working with. And it's I don't know. I just think that he's trying to change the philosophy of a team that was already pre-built a little early, if that makes sense. You get what I mean? He's trying to make it a defensive team by getting Bader when the team was already they weren't an offensive team or defensive team. Like they're just bad at both. You know what I mean? Like, so that's where like it doesn't really match up to me. And again, if I had the rotation of, okay, I have Corbin Burns, I have Brandon Woodruff, I got Peralta, I could be a defensive team. I'm good with that. But I don't have that rotation. So why does my lineup have to suck too? That's the way I look at it. Like, I can't build Milwaukee if I don't have Milwaukee's rotation. That's how I see it.
A lot of dominoes have to fall in place, but if they don't, they have a pivot. They do have a pivot. And that's the thing. Like, I'm okay with what they're doing. Like, I'm okay with it. I understand what they're doing. Do I think it's the right thing? No, I don't think it's like the right thing to put this team in a winning position, but they've already kind of established there. It's the wait and see year, what they want to, what is going to happen towards the trade deadline, towards the second half of the season, down the stretch of the season. That's what they've kind of established. Do I agree with the Harrison Bader? No, but I'm not mad at it because, one, I can't get mad at a 1-year deal. But do I understand why?
Yes. I'm mad. I'm not mad that's 1-year deal. I'm mad that he was chosen over some guys who, in my opinion, were better fits and bigger needs.
And again, like I've said with the reality of some relievers as well, maybe he was the only one who wanted a 1-year deal. Maybe Michael Taylor came off a really good year. He wants a multi-year deal. I understand why they did it. They said they wanted run prevention. They got their run prevention. And I understand wanting to preserve Nimmo's health and everything because he still will have the scare no matter what. He has a lot of health issues, whether he's been healthy or not the past few years. He has a lot of health issues. He has the neck thing. He has the heart murmur, the whole thing with that. And that's what they've invested to for 8 years. So I understand wanting to preserve that, but I think that they're understanding the situation that they are in where, again, like I said, that $50 million in retained salaries, if that wasn't there, if that was addressed towards active payroll, if they were at the same situation with them being completely way over the luxury tax already, they would have gotten a DH.